Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Palm Beach County Schools 21st Annual Tech Conference. My name is Jennifer Davis. I am the program planner for secondary science, and I'll be your host for this session, Connections That Matter. Before we jump in, a little bit of housekeeping for you. Please remember to use the chat box over there on the right to communicate. If you haven't ever done that before, just click in there and it'll walk you through how to create a channel so that you can communicate and ask questions and leave us comments and feedback. Be sure also to like and subscribe to the EdTech Palm Beach EdTech YouTube channel. And also this session will be recorded and it'll be available on our YouTube channel forever. In that chat, you'll see that some folks have a wrench next to their name. That's a moderator. So they'll be able to answer questions for you as well if you need anything. So again, remember to please like and subscribe. And I hope you enjoy the session. So I'm going to begin by introducing Giancarlo Brotto. Giancarlo is the Global Education Advisor for Smart Technologies and also the co-founder of Catalyst Community, which has been convening government officials, school system leaders, in throughout the pandemic, and we'll be sharing some of that insight with you today. So Giancarlo, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. And I hope everybody enjoys this session. Again, remember to use the chat to communicate and have a wonderful time.
There we go. Thanks so much, Jennifer. You know, I love the theme and the title of this event, Fast Forward, a decade of change in a year. Oh my goodness, has it ever been a decade of change in a year? And we've all been on many journeys, incredible journeys, some more exciting, some a little bit stressful perhaps, or frustrating. Regardless of the journey, it is shaping what we are doing today. And that's what we're going to be talking about and connecting with is those exact journeys. Now, for those that don't know me, as was mentioned, the work that I do, I'm in Toronto, Canada. I've been an educator. I worked at the University of Toronto teaching statistics, but also worked at one of Ontario's first digital schools. So this is over 20 years ago. And then since then started helping schools and systems transition to digital. And of course, many people around the world have had to do that in a hurry this past year. And, you know, so what we're going to do today, and if you haven't ever been in one of my sessions, I actually have no content. So all my slides are actually blank because what we are going to do together, all of you that joined, and I know some of you are watching this afterwards, so thank you for watching. What we're going to do live together is we're going to co-construct insights around our journeys and the lessons and the insights that we can derive from those journeys. Now, the way that I like doing it, and regardless of where you are right now, I invite you to grab a phone or if you're at your computer, open up another tab, because we're going to be getting all of you interconnected with each other's thoughts and opinions, and we're going to do it anonymously. So you're not going to know who's sharing what. We'll keep it anonymous. But the key is that I want to get your thoughts and opinions, and what we're going to do is we're going to see how your thoughts and opinions compare with each other's. But then what I'm going to do is share with you over the last year, I've done a synthesis of what school leaders, school system leaders, as well as government officials, what some highlights and themes are. And I looked at it specifically with the lens of North America, but also I can comment on a global perspective as well, which there's overlap. Okay, so on your screen right now, you'll see hellosmart.com. So I'm going to invite you to do, let's all grab a phone or device, whatever it might be, open a new tab. Let's all go to hellosmart.com, because what this is going to do is connect your minds and your thoughts with me, but with others as well. So go to hellosmart.com, and what you're going to see there is going to ask you a question related to if you want to sign in or if you want to join as a guest. Go ahead and join as a guest because it's not important that you sign in. We don't need to know who each of you are. So go ahead and click on guest, and it's going to ask you for a code. So the code you're going to put in is right in front of you, 848-427. And I see some folks are starting to log in now. Fantastic. And by the way, like I mentioned, my content today is actually going to come from all of you. So I'm going to totally encourage you to participate, Otherwise, we have no content for the session. And I'm not kidding. You'll see my slides. They're blank pages. We're going to populate it together. And of course, as your thoughts come in, I'll put them into different categories and groups, and I'll share some insights around, and I'll top up some things that I've noticed from this past year. So that's what we're going to do together as well. I'll probably put this all, for those of you that are watching afterwards, you'll get to watch the recording so you can rewind and fast forward. We'll probably drop a link in the YouTube comments as well for you to access. I'll synthesize all of your insights today to see how your insights today compare with that of the rest of North America. So I see many of you chimed in. Fantastic. And you're starting to say hello to each other in the comments, which is great. Let's start getting familiar with this platform we're using. So I see many of you are logged in. Let's start with thinking about this concept of journeys. And what I want you to do is think about a time in your life, could have been any time, a year ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, where you had an experience that you think about as this journey that was so memorable because it gave you some insights that you either live by today or that have shaped either who you are or the way that you think. And what I want you to do is grab that red little icon there, and I want you to drop that icon in the place in the world where you feel that journey took place, or where that journey had taken place. And I'd love to see, where in the world these journeys occurred for all of you. So go ahead, grab the little marker, drop it on a place in the map relatively where that journey took place. And what I'm doing is I'm getting you to think back to this memorable moment from your past and how it shaped, how the way that you think, the things that you do, how you interact with others. And these journeys are so memorable and so near and dear to us. Now, the other thing I'm doing is I'm making sure that you're all comfortable with this platform. I also realize some of you just joined in. Welcome. I'm Giancarlo from Toronto, and going to be facilitating this super interactive session with you. And so I'd love for you to participate by going to, and you'll see it right below here, hellosmart.com, join as a guest, and then put in the code 848427. Okay, and I see that you're comfortable doing this. Fantastic. I see a lot of these experiences either took place in North America or South America, some in Europe as well. I love it. Fantastic. So, and this concept of journey is important. We're going to come to it in a moment. I want to also get you to experience another thing that you're going to be doing, which is contributing content. And so what I'd love for you to do, sorry, I'm just going to go to this slide here, is, these journeys, sometimes when you think about what makes them memorable, there's different things that can come to mind when you think about that memory. And there's these two authors, Chip and Dan Heath, who they've been studying for the last, I don't know how many years, these stories and these journeys and these moments that had significant impact on folks' lives. And they noticed that all of them had these 4 common characteristics. Now, it could have all 4, or it could have a combination of the 4, but they all had at least one element of these. And it was something that, there was a moment of elevation. So something unexpected happened. Or it was a moment of pride, that graduation. You're the first in your family to graduate. Or maybe it was a moment of insight where it gave you clarity in something that you did. Or maybe it was a moment of connection. Maybe you got married, your first time meeting a relative that you've never seen in your life. So if you think, when you're thinking about your journey, they all had elements of this. Now, I want to take us back to this past year, because this past year was a journey for all of us. For some, there was a lot of new moments, a lot of unexpected moments, but they all contain insights so long as we take the opportunity to unpack them and ask and see what they might reveal to us. And that's what we're actually going to go do today. We're going to reflect back on these moments, and we're going to start unpacking what some of they are. And what you're going to notice is that there's going to be similarities in some of these insights that we can all draw, so that we all might learn and grow together. And hopefully this experience that I'm creating for you today will be an opportunity to perhaps get some more insights or new insights as you continue on your education journey. Now, I have no idea what it is that you do in education. And so on your screens right now, for those that are connected, hellosmart.com, put in that code there. Please share with me what you do. What is your role? Are you an educator? And if so, what do you teach? Do you support teachers? Are you a school administrator? So I would love to get a sense, and I would love for everybody else to get a sense who's watching this after it's happened live. What's the context with which the insights you'll be sharing today? Where does it come from? So go ahead and share with us And you know what? I got to start the activity. So let me go ahead and do that. Otherwise, it'll be pretty hard for you to contribute. There we go. So go ahead. You should see your window now pop up. That allows you to share your thoughts and your content. So go ahead. Love for you to share with us what it is that you do. So we have someone who's working in the IT area of the education sector. Fantastic. Let's see if for sure we have some educators with us here today. But let us know if you are an educator. Family counselors, oh my goodness, very important role for this past year. Assistant principals, we have educators. We have fourth grade math educators, being specific, I love it. Reading teachers, we have another reading teacher, fantastic. We have science curriculum planners, fifth grade math and science educators. We have an executive assistant to the board, fantastic. A science resource teacher, and someone who also works in IT but supports users directly. Okay, so beautiful. So I wanted to make sure everybody gets a sense that we have a good variety of folks in the room. We also have curriculum, specifically curriculum technology support specialists. This is brilliant. So for those of you that are watching not live, the context with which the insight that you're going to see comes from this diverse group of folks, which we're so grateful that you're all joining and that you're participating. And of course, at any time, folks, those of you that are listening, except if you're watching it on YouTube, not live, this is the code where you can contribute your thoughts. HelloSmart.com, 848-427. Okay, so let's go right into our journey. So when we think about this past year, and actually some of you have asked, who am I and what do I do? For those, and maybe I'll context that before we get started with your journeys, because we're going to go there next. For those that missed the introduction, I'm based in Toronto, Canada. My name is Giancarlo. I used to be a high school math teacher in one of Ontario's first digital schools. This is over 20 years ago. And now I'm the global education advisor for Smart Technologies. If you don't know Smart, most people know Smart for the ones who invented and brought to the world the world's first interactive whiteboard. But many people don't know that they're quite a prominent education company that do incredible software. We're actually using their platform right now called Lumio, but also have resources for parents in terms of educational videos for kids to use at home, but also support organizations like Catalyst, which I'm one of the co-founders. And what we do at Catalyst is we've been convening, and we're, by the way, Catalyst is an organization made up of different organizations that support education leaders. So we convene government officials, we convene school system leaders and school leaders to get into small groups and to co-construct shared outputs around challenges or themes that matter to them. And this past year, you can imagine, it was a beautiful opportunity to interconnect the world, literally, through the different challenges that were occurring. And so today, I'm going to unpack some of that. There's actually a free report. I'll make mention to it. If you stick around to the end, I'll show you how you can access it, that synthesizes some of the high-level themes that emerged and that also tie to some of the other work that the U.S. Department of Education has done, the World Bank, World Economic Forum, OECD, and so that it interconnects from a North American context, how these themes connect with the rest of the world as well. Okay, so that's a bit about me and the insight where the insight's going to come from today. But let's get right into all of you and your journeys. So I'm curious to kind of level set. And for those of you that aren't watching this live, I want you to do this mental exercise right now. I want you to think about your last year, the last 12 months, right? And those of you that are connected, hellosmart.com and that number 848-427, I want you to grab the red hand and I want you to put it over the area that best represents what last year felt to you. Now, if it was like horrible and really bad, I want you to grab that red hand and put it all the way to the left-hand side, right? Almost like a scale. But if it was like the best year of your life, I was talking to Eric Mazur last week, is actually a couple weeks ago on a podcast, and his last year was the most, as a professor at Harvard, and it was his most incredible year of his life, where he exposed himself to new ways of leveraging digital and remote learning, and now it's a new normal for him. So where would you say you are on the spectrum? Go ahead and grab the red hand. What was your experience? What was that experience like for you last year? Go ahead and indicate that for us. All right, and we see the hands moving, and we have some variability. And I've been asking this question, by the way, when I do sessions wherever I am in the world, whether it's in Asia or I was in Middle East last week, or in North or South America, and there's huge variability, right? Because all of us have different experiences, different contexts. We have different backgrounds that shape what those experiences are. So even two people with the same experience experience it differently. So we all have a variety of different experiences of what our last year is. And now let's dive specifically into what made those experiences and what gave you that perception of how you ranked that experience. And we're going to start off by having you contribute your thoughts around, what specifically, right? And we're going to have everybody thinking the same thing around the challenges. So we're going to focus first on what were the kind of the pains or the enduring challenges that all of you or that you felt kind of rise to the top when you think about the past year. Now, what I want you to do to add your content, you can click on the little text icon here. You select a space in the document, and you can go ahead and type in your content. So I'm going to give you about 3 to 4 minutes. I would love for you to share, for all of you to share, what a challenge was, what you would say was your top challenge this past year, and that kind of shaped the journey that you were on. So I'm going to throw some music on so we have something cool in the background. And as you're contributing your content, I will be organizing it into themes so that we might be able to see each other's thoughts and perspectives. So with that, I'm going to invite you to start adding your content.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, there's something without water, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lied ahead seemed impossible to face, when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely
All right, I'm going to give you about another 30 seconds or so.
And when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. I just want to look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely
All right. So hopefully you're watching the screen at some of these incredible shares. A lot to do with what happens in the classroom, a lot to do, this comment here I just thought was a great indicative of, there's a whole world that happened outside of our school that we had to mitigate, right? Kids being home, loved ones being ill, created a whole other dynamic on top of the changes that happened in the school. So no doubt, this has been an unprecedented year of challenges. Now, when we look and when we ask leaders and even government officials around the world, what they were for them, and when we categorized it, I'm going to share with you the categories. And it's interesting because all of you are coming up with these similar ones. There was four unique categories that, actually 5 unique categories that they fell into, and I'm going to share them with you. The one was specifically around. And you'll see the image coming here. And I think it's the one that most of you kind of focused on, which was the things that happened in the classroom, right? So these are how we engaged our learners. These are, having to deal with our, learners' cameras off, or how we have someone mentioned, making collaboration possible. So the different ways in which we engaged with our learners and those interactions. Now, another one that a lot of you, a similar theme came up, and this is what we saw as well with the school leaders, related to this concept of supports and how important it was to recognize, as is mentioned, there's a lot going on in people's lives. On top of the fact, there's a lot of new technologies that we had to start incorporating and start adapting into our programming. And so how do we manage and get support as it relates to all of those? And so, there's a digital integration learning curve, as someone mentioned. So professional learning and collaboration between staff was another theme that was looked at. And it's not just about, how to use technology or how to use this instructional strategy. Sometimes it had to do with managing the mental health and well-being of our learners or of ourselves. And so this is a significant theme. I'm glad that all of you aligned to it as well. Okay, but I don't want to make this a downer event. Let's shift our thinking and our attention to, as much as there were challenges, so too were there incredible opportunities and experiences that we won't soon forget, that are super memorable, and they're triumphs. They truly are triumphs. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is think about this past year, and I want you to list what are the triumphs, the top triumphs. And when you think back this year, they're like, wow, that was just, it's so instrumental. I'll never forget it. I'm probably going to think differently, act differently as the year goes on. So go ahead, let's hear what those triumphs are. And for those that just joined us, you'll see the scrolling banner on the bottom. You go to hellosmart.com, join as a guest. It doesn't matter what name you use. We're not going to identify anybody or their comments, but put in the number 848-427. You'll be able to participate. We're getting your comments sent in right now. We're going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes to share your thoughts. All right, I'm gonna give you about 30 more seconds. We're talking about the triumphs of this past year, and oh my goodness, I'm reading some of your comments, and you're reminding me, and hopefully you're reading each other's as well. So many great things to be excited about. All right, so thanks so much for sharing those contributions, folks. It's so wonderful to see. Uh, if you looked at the types of triumphs that you mentioned, the variability just completely increased. And if we did a better job of categorizing, we could probably come up with 6 or 7 categories. But I want to bring to your attention, we still had the categories of things that had to do with the classroom. So as much as there were challenges with connecting our learners, engaging our learners, instructional strategies and practices, leveraging technology in the classroom, so too have we had significant triumphs, amazing adaptation that we showed for teachers and students. I saw that the concept. I love this one: realization of the value of the educator, an important role that the educator plays. And no doubt many parents who had to play that role at home could have testified to that. But I also want to bring to your attention 2 new categories, and these are 2 that we saw as well when we convened government officials, school system leaders, and school leaders. And it's a super important one, and several of you brought it to the attention, and that is that of the connection with families, right? And many of you mentioned your own personal, and I love that you talked about, the time that you got to see your child take his first steps. You would have missed it, right, if you'd been in school. But also the fact that you got to connect with other families and be part of their journeys and build stronger relationships with your parent communities. A lot of the special education communities, especially with the IEPs, had record numbers of attendance in those IEP meetings. And now it's a new way where more of the stakeholders can be part of ongoing and more frequent discussions because of the ease with which we can convene with our parents. So the parental one is a significant one. The other one that came up as well related to let me pull it up here. Give me a second. Is the teacher professional learning. We saw that one as well, but also the development of skills in our learners, but also the realization that some of our learners developed some of these social and emotional learning skills throughout their journey in the process of this pandemic. And also, in some of you system leaders, the other category that came up was that of strategic planning and how important that is, and listening to stakeholder involvement. And so I love that these themes that you locally, wherever you are, those you're chiming in right now, most of you are based in Florida, your sentiments and your theme align to those that we've seen across North America, but also align internationally as well. Now, I want to take some time, and this is an exercise that I would love for you to do. For those of you that are watching remotely and not doing this live, hit well, you don't have to hit pause, you can do it, because I'm going to give you about 3 minutes, all of you right now, to dive deeper. And this is a great exercise for all of those different themes to then narrow in. Okay, we talked about what happened in the classrooms and the challenges and the triumphs. So what are specific actions, behaviors that we want to continue doing or keep doing that we think have a positive impact on our learners? So once we identify kind of a general theme, now we can go deeper and say, what are these enduring practices? And when we think about, and go ahead, those of you that are connected in, you see the scrolling banner, hellosmart.com, connect in 848-427. I want you to share, what are some of these teaching and learning practices that you want to make sure are sustained, that you want to make sure endure throughout, the rest of our kind of educational experiences with the learners. So go ahead and share your perspectives there. And I'll just comment that, one thing as you're sharing, one thing that's come out that I've heard significantly around schools and school systems is how much we have to really be thinking about what is learning and how does learning happen. And when you take away the structures that we're used to, the desks, the chairs, the timings, the bells, right? That physical presence, how do we create learning experiences that don't become a challenge, but they become an opportunity, right? And so for a lot of folks, it's been, well, let's go down to what does it mean to learn? And you can go to, there've been lots of great published papers recently, one last year by Better Purpose. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations funded it. Send me a message if you want on socials, and I'll send you a link to it. Free report on consolidating everything we've learned around the science of learning. That's from neuroscience, that's behavioral science, cognitive psychology, and what are the fundamental principles that make learning happen? And we see engagement up here, right? Intentional planning for engagement, which assumes we understand our learner. And so I'm assuming someone's going to put up personalization at one point, or recognizing that learning is more broad than just, I used to teach math, the math concepts, but as someone mentioned, the social and emotional learning, those other competencies and capabilities that we want our learners to thrive, which actually complement or aid in development of the concepts. And so if we want to go deeper in our journey so that it shapes what we do in the future, we take each of these themes as you're doing now, and let's unpack to see, well, what are the practices and what are the behaviors that we want to see that we feel will have a significant impact on our learners? And we see that here, these same themes emerge. The importance of parents, right? Connections of parents and meeting them where they are and being an invested stakeholder for their children. And how many of you, because you interacted with you, or maybe you had a WhatsApp group. I know in Latin America, they instantly created a WhatsApp group with their parents, right? Or in India as well, they heavily relied on the telephone. That was their mechanism to communicate. They've never spoken to more parents ever before. And what did that mean? Educators had more windows into these learners, what motivated them, what didn't motivate them, what worked for them, what their passions or interests were, what they had going on at home. Many of you had the opportunity to see kids play piano in front of you at home, or bring you into their worlds and connect with your learners at a deeper and more personal level. And so I love, and there's someone even mentioned, re-engaging students in the learning process and ways in which we do that. And so for each of these different themes, and for those at a school, if you work in a collaborative community of educators, or if you're a district leader, taking a look at your journey, the challenges, the opportunities, taking a look at the themes that emerge, and then going deep as we're doing right now to really pull out what are these lessons that we want to take away, that we make sure we highlight and emphasize as we go forward. And all it does is allow us to grow and mature in our journeys and whatever roles we might be. So I want to get to and so here's different. You know what? Let me take one of them. Let's do one more. Let's take a look at lesson learned for collaborating with parents. So what I want, let's dive deep on the parent category. What I'd love to hear from you, and then I'll share some of the insight that we got from the leader community. So go ahead, and I want you to share words, or a sentence if you want, or just a few words that would describe, this concept, and some of you mentioned it, the ability to connect with your parents more. But what's a lesson that you learned around collaborating with parents this past year that you think, if we focused on and highlighted and we did more of, would make a significant impact on our learners, on ourselves as educators, on our staff, right? Some of you system leaders that are in the room that have brought the parents in as part of your planning, right? For many of you, blended learning, hybrid learning is completely new. You had to define new policies, new practices for your district. And maybe you engaged with the parent community to hear their thoughts and perspectives. I know some districts went out to identify instantly what's access like at home. Some kids were at home with one device, and that was shared between 3 kids. They had to stagger. Some kids are doing homework at 2:00 at night, right? And so the opportunity to collaborate and connect with parents was critical for some of you. So let me start the activity so you can actually share. Hopefully I've primed you enough. So go ahead and send out words, and you can send more than one word or group of words that would describe lessons that you learned that you want to take away and that you'd like to share with others, obviously here in this safe space, in how we've seen collaborating with parents as a triumph this past year and what we would like to see going forward. And I see compassion as one of the themes, as one of the statements. I love it. We also, one of the things that we saw was the increase in number of parents that be part of parent councils and part of the parent communities that they've never seen before was a beautiful thing. So understanding is a lesson learned. Rules for dress during remote learning. So when we're working with parents, we learned a lot about culture as well, and reinforcement and the spectrum of reinforcement that happen. People are mentioning the concept of flexibility and the accommodations that we need to make. And I think that's a beautiful point there. The more we're in tune with our parents and our learners, the more we can become flexible, because we want to accommodate and have more insight for our learners. And also training. So someone brought that up. I'm glad you brought that. So that's something we saw as well. Never before have we had more YouTube videos or resources or call-in centers for our parents and for our learners as they were adopting new practices. And then this last person here mentioned, no doubt, all this has done, this collaboration with their parents, has made us all a little bit more empathic on both sides of the spectrum. Parents have developed a deeper appreciation for the work that district system leaders and, of course, all you educators do for all of our learners on a daily basis. And so, I'm so grateful that you were able to share all these with you. And I just want to highlight, all of these different themes. These are the 5 key themes that we've noticed. There's the resilience report. I'm going to give you a link in a moment where you can go and access it and unpack actually some of these same comments that all of you mentioned, as well as some resources that you can take away, free resources related to each of those different different categories. And this is a representative of North American system, school, and as well as government officials. But there's a common theme and thread that I want to make sure I highlight as we wrap up that ties all of these things together. And it has to do with this, when we talk about journeys and these moments that are just stand out in our lives, they happen because of connection. And if you think about what you shared, both the challenges and the triumphs, it had to do with the connection, either between the connection between a teacher and learners when they were distant or not distant, the connection between learners, the connection between school and family and the parents that we just talked about, or the connection, and some of you mentioned it, between your peers and how when you work together and collaborate, you elevated with each other. And it's these connections, is that it's a recurring theme that I've noticed throughout all of these different shares, that we need to make sure we focus, prioritize, and that we elevate. And so as we wrap up, I want to share, SMART has been attuned to, as much as there's been strife, there's been such incredible stories of these connections. I've been so grateful to hear them, that SMART has actually been sending camera crews all around the world. And they're happening right now. They actually sent 2 crews to Florida to go in schools to tell these stories. And at the end of the month, there's going to be the opportunity for you to see and hear some of these stories from literally all parts of the world, all different continents. The hashtag is Connections That Matter. And so we can celebrate and get ideas about how we elevate these connections that we just mentioned between our staff, between our parents, between our learners, between us as teachers as well. So I encourage you to be connected with that. And so how do you access the report? How do you access Connections That Matter? Well, on socials, how do you access me? These are my socials. You can go to direct me / Brotto, and that's how you can get access to me. So through LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or Instagram as well. But also I want to bring your attention that to dive into more of the insights that we saw this past year, which were very aligned to the ones that you shared, you click on the Catalyst community link here, and then you can click on this Read Our Latest Report, and it'll take you to a landing page, which has a bunch of resources relative to those categories, as well as you can download the free report, and you can see how leaders have thought about the challenges and also the triumphs of this past year, and some ideas that we can take forward as well. If you want to be part of these experiences that we convene, folks, you can definitely join our Catalyst community. And of course, if you love this platform that I used to convene you on today, you can click on Smart Technologies, and Lumio is free to use for you. So you can click on a link there so you can access that as well. I'm super grateful. I truly am. Some of the comments that you shared, I know were very heartfelt. They were very meaningful and memorable to you. So I truly appreciate you being so genuine with your responses. It's been a pleasure convening your thoughts and ideas and seeing how we're all connected with one another. And no doubt, if we continue focusing on the power of those connections, we will all elevate our ability to have impact with the many learners and families that we impact in the work that we do in our lives. So thank you, all of you. Look forward to connecting with you more outside platforms. For those of you that didn't watch it live, hope you had a great experience and contributed and your thoughts and your opinions to others as well. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Jennifer. And for those that are part of the conference, enjoy the next couple of sessions that no doubt are great opportunities for connection.
Giancarlo, thank you so much for presenting to our teachers and educators. It was very engaging. I love the Lumio platform, but the insights that you shared were really, really cool. So thank you very, very much. I want to remind everybody that we have additional sessions coming up at 1:45. Session D will be starting. And of course, I also want to encourage you, don't forget to like and subscribe to the EdTech Teams channel. And if you want to rewatch some of this presentation, you can do that. It will be available on that YouTube channel. Of course, we want to thank our EdTech team for putting together this conference and making these speakers like Giancarlo available to us and enabling us all to engage in this way. So once again, Giancarlo, thank you so very much for being with us all the way from Canada. We truly, truly appreciate your insight. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Take care, everyone.